Welcome back, you guys. This is your second stimulus check update and second stimulus package update for Tuesday, September the 22nd. Happy Tuesday, you guys. I actually have several updates I want to cover with you guys. Number one, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is actually testifying before Congress today. Lots of updates. He is actually testifying before Congress as well as Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Lots of updates that I want to share with you guys during that testimony. It's actually quite long and lengthy, but I decided to kind of capture some of the key elements that I wanted to share with you guys that directly impact the next stimulus package and, of course, the next round of stimulus checks. And they actually spoke specifically about that. I'm going to share that information with you guys, not to mention the information related to state and local governments, because as you know, that was actually a key factor for why the previous stimulus bills haven't been able to be agreed upon during the negotiations between the House of Representatives as well as the Senate. Also, we heard from Congress, and Congress actually believes that we will see another round of stimulus checks. And I will share the information specifically from Tom Reed, Congressman Tom Reed, on why that's going to happen. Also, information about the PUA. The PUA is a federal unemployment insurance benefit that was actually provided through the CARES Act. That money is actually still available. I actually got recent information directly from an attorney's website that actually shared specific information about how you might be able to take full advantage of the remaining PUA benefits that are still actually available. So a lot of you guys who didn't qualify for previous unemployment insurance benefits, or some of you who have had unemployment insurance benefits that have expired, could actually take advantage of this information. So I'm definitely going to share that with you guys. So of course you want to stay until the end of this video to make sure you get all of this valuable information. And did you guys know that the value of your credit score could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to you, if not millions of dollars, over your lifetime? A strong credit score versus a low credit score could literally mean the difference between having to rent forever versus actually purchasing your first home or even investment properties and opening the doors for building wealth for you and your family. And in my financial freedom program, we will be covering all topics of how to build credit, how to rebuild credit, how to invest, and how to develop multiple streams of income. So I cannot wait to share that with you guys. And for those of you guys who are brand new to the channel, my name is Ron. We cover all things personal finance, investing, and of course, we provide updates on stimulus checks as well as unemployment benefits updates as well. So if you are interested in any of that, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into it. So as I mentioned on the previous video, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell as well as Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, they're both scheduled to testify before Congress today. In fact, they're actually just now wrapping things up, but I definitely wanted to share some highlights with you guys. Now, of course, we know that the House of Representatives and the Senate have been bickering back and forth in terms of negotiations over this next stimulus package. And one of the key issues that has been a stumbling block in terms of reaching an agreement has been the agreement on the amount of money actually required for state and local governments. Now, if you guys remember, Nancy Pelosi wanted about $900 billion specifically for state and local governments, and Senate Majority Leader Mitch Mcconnell was not at all in favor of providing this much money, this large of an allocation to state and local governments. And so the first thing that I want to cover with you guys today is the exact response we got from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell as it relates to the funding that he believes, as the Federal Reserve Chairman, that should be allocated to state and local governments.
Do you think state and local government going bankrupt would create instability in our economy?
I think that's an issue that's outside my bailiwick.
So you don't think it's an integral part to ensure that state and local government in the public sector is stabilized and will not go bankrupt, like the city of Detroit did?
So states can't go bankrupt. They don't have there's no means for them to. Cities, of course, can under.
Yeah, so the city of Detroit, when they went bankrupt, there was a huge, did you think there was an impact in the economy there?
Yes.
Well, I think so too.
All right, so the first thing I want to say is that, you guys couldn't pay me to be Jerome Powell today. Sitting in front of, congressmen and women all day long, being grilled in the courtroom over, this very important subject matter. I would not want to be in the hot seat. I would not want to be him today. However, I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but did you notice how the question that the Congresswoman actually presented to the Fed chairman, she didn't really quite understand the actual question that she was asking. And you could tell that by the way that the chairman responded to her. However, he did actually confirm the importance of, appropriate funding for states and local governments. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to actually talk about the stimulus check during the testimony. In fact, the Congresswoman who's actually doing the grilling right now is about to ask Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin what his opinions are in terms of the importance of another round of stimulus checks to the American people as it relates to being able to sustain and stabilize the economy. So I'm just going to share a quick clip of that with you guys right now.
Right. I mean, this is a huge issue, and this is probably even deeper than even what the recession that we went through. Yes or no, do you believe another stimulus check could help stabilize the economy?
I do.
However, you've been on record for not supporting the economic package that we passed in May that included another round of stimulus checks for millions of Americans that would, that are right now unable to afford their rent and so forth. Can you explain what your position there is? Because I think the American people are a little confused. Does the administration support a $1,200 another stimulus payment?
The administration does support another stimulus payment.
So, but you're willing to go ahead and support within the HEROES Act that payment, and push back on what I call let them go bankrupt bill that the Senate has proposed.
Let me just say I take great pride that the last two bills we did passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. Mm-hmm. We obviously can't pass a bill in the Senate without bipartisan support. And our job is to continue to work with Congress to try to get additional help to the American public.
I think you need to be very clear with the senators, Secretary, really clear, Treasurer, that direct payment to individuals is critical to preventing an economic collapse in our country.
All right, guys, so you heard it directly from Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. The White House definitely supports another round of stimulus checks, not to mention they recognize the importance of another round of stimulus checks for the sake of the stability of the economy. Not to mention we heard from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. Now, Jerome Powell is the head guy. This is the lead guy within the Federal Reserve. This is the guy that controls interest rates, monetary policy, etc., etc. He's basically the equivalent of who Ben Bernanke was back in the 2008, during the 2008 recession, when lots of monetary policy needed to be modified. Quantitative easing was at its peak, and a $1.3 trillion stimulus package needed to be dispersed, and he was the guy to make that happen. Well, fast forward to today, Jerome Powell is basically the modern day Ben Bernanke. And so for the next several days, Jerome Powell will be in court begging and pleading on behalf of the American people for another round of stimulus checks, for another large stimulus package, for expansion and an extension on unemployment support. All of these are required in order to rebuild and restart and stabilize the economy. And so we pretty much have the best guy that we could possibly ask for to be testifying before Congress on behalf of the American people for another stimulus package. And I don't think that any of these congressmen and women want to be responsible for an potential economic collapse as a result of being too restrictive on the amount of stimulus funds that are actually being distributed throughout the economy. And of course, Jerome Powell is not the only one testifying before Congress about the need for additional stimulus. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is also testifying regarding the absolute necessity for additional stimulus, saying, please pass this additional stimulus. We don't want an economic collapse. So this is a huge deal that we have both of these individuals testifying before Congress right now. Also, we heard from House of Representatives Republican Tom Reed. He said if Congress can put politics aside, a deal to provide another round of stimulus checks to Americans and give aid to struggling states can be reached in the coming weeks. Now, we've heard estimates that if a negotiation can actually be reached within the next 10 days, that we could actually see another round of stimulus checks by the middle of October. Now, Tom Reed is actually the co-chairman within the Problem Solvers Caucus, which coincidentally, they actually provided the nearly $2 trillion proposal that came out about a week ago. According to Tom Reed, we said, you know what? These guys need to be held accountable and to be told this can be done, and more importantly, this should be done. It's the right thing for people back home. The nearly $2 trillion stimulus package provided by the Problem Solvers Caucus about a week ago did provide the $1,200 stimulus checks as well as $500 for dependents as well as adult dependents and provided retroactive stimulus payments. President Trump said they came up with this idea, and I think they're well on their way to suggesting some pretty good things. He said, we're getting closer. He said, I do like a lot of money getting sent to people that really were hurt unnecessarily by China, because they could have stopped. Now, this is a direct quote from President Trump. Whether or not China is actually the direct cause of all of this, that remains to be seen. I'll let you guys duke it out in the comments, but that was directly from President Trump. Now, according to this Gallup poll, President Trump is actually stuck at a 42% job approval rating. Now, with an approval rating this low, you can be sure that President Trump's going to do everything in his power to make sure that the American people get another round of stimulus checks. Now, according to this latest Gallup poll conducted from August 31st through September 13th, it finds that 56% of Americans are actually disapproving of the job that President Trump is doing, consistent with his disapproval score since June. It says that the views of President Trump have also held firm by political party. He continues to enjoy solid support from fellow Republicans at 92% approval now versus 90% in August, while earning relatively low approval from independents, which are now at 36%. And they were previously at 39% in August, and barely any from Democrats at 4% now versus 5% back in August. So what do you guys think about President Trump's approval ratings? Do you think that these Gallup polls are pretty accurate? Just a quick question for you guys. I always hear mixed reviews when it comes to these different polls. I figured I'd share that with you guys. And the last thing I wanted to touch base with you guys on is the PUA, which is the unemployment insurance benefits. And I wanted to share some recent information with you on this that I got from a law firm, an actual attorney's office website with regard to these unemployment insurance benefits. So now, according to the law firm Jackson Lewis, it actually says that although the FPUC benefit expired, the expanded benefits under the Pandemic Unemployment Insurance Program, which is actually the PUA, they're actually still in effect until December 31st of 2020 this year. It says that the PUA actually provides workers who are ineligible for regular state benefits, such as independent contractors, the unemployment benefits funded by the federal government. So I definitely wanted to share this information with you guys because a lot of you guys were asking about the PUA. You were hearing mixed questions and responses about PUA. So what I would do is I'll go ahead and drop a link to this particular attorney's website. They're called jacksonlewis.com. I'm completely not affiliated with these guys at all. I just happen to be on the internet looking for information about the PUA and decided to share this information with you guys. But it might be worth reaching out to them if you happen to have a question about your PUA benefits. Maybe you feel like you're getting underpaid in terms of what you feel like you should have gotten. A lot of people were saying that, you're not quite getting the amounts that you thought you should get. I don't see why you wouldn't want to consider potentially reaching out to one of these attorneys that actually specializes in that. Maybe they can provide you with a free consultation. I don't know, but at least more than likely they'll be able to provide you with some guidance to figure out what your next best course of action is. Because a lot of you guys have advised that, it's next to impossible to get in contact with anybody from the unemployment insurance office. But anyway, that's all for this stimulus check update and stimulus package update. If you guys have any questions for me, drop them in the comments below. My financial freedom program is coming out super duper soon. If you have any questions about that, I'd also love to hear from you guys. We'll be covering investing, building your credit, and literally achieving financial freedom in that program. We're going to definitely be changing some lives. But anyway, that's all for the stimulus check and stimulus package update. I will see you guys on the next one. Like, subscribe, take care.